Hey guys, Colin here, Flow Combat System, and I want to show you a circular striking pattern that is the foundation for a lot of the movements that we do, and also becomes the foundation that we weave other movement patterns into. So if we were to start with what we call chain punching or Wing Chun straight blast punching here, which is just a hand over hand kind of punching. So there's still a little circle that goes on here, and then I take it to a 45-degree angle like this. Now at a 45-degree angle, you get a little bit more of that hammer fist effect coming over the top. And what we're going to do is we're now going to transform this into the foundational striking pattern I was talking about. So if I'm moving like this, the first thing I'm going to change is this outside hand, or what I call a forehand strike, because if I had a tennis racket, this would be my forehand. So my forehand strike is going to change. When I pull it back, I'm going to go from palm in to palm out. When we rotate the palm different directions as we strike, it creates more of a whipping effect and rotational force. So it adds a lot more power and speed to what we do. So we're going to pull it back like this, almost like an archer pulling a bow back. And when I strike, I'm going to strike forward with a hammer fist here. So I'm going to show you from the side, and I'm going to break it down into parts. So from this position here, from this outward fist position, I'm going to pull back. My elbow is in a line with my shoulder here. I don't want to pull farther back than that, because then my hand's getting behind my body, and if somebody hits it, I'm going to rip my shoulder. So I just pull it back to here, elbow, right? Hand is facing, in this case it would be facing toward my target with the palm facing outward. From that position, what I'm going to do is my elbow becomes the fulcrum for this rotation. I'm going to bring my hand so that's now in line with my elbow, my shoulder here. And then I'm going to bring my elbow forward and point it toward the opponent, and then strike over the top and create an arc with that. And it comes down, I pull it back, and I do the same thing again. So this is a retracting motion here. Palm turns out, palm turns in, and strikes. So we get a whipping effect. It becomes this undulating kind of motion. So you can practice it kind of rocking back and forth in place to get a sense of that whip. Now, one of the advantages of this whip is that I can snap with my wrist at the very end. And I could also make this a slap, like it's a wet towel hitting the side of somebody's face, as an open palm strike. But the whip itself has a lot of power, and that's going to drive a lot of force, especially if we hit the temple, we hit the jaw, can dislocate the jaw really easily. Obviously the temple can be a fatal strike, but with that kind of hammer fist, we can strike a lot of different areas. This could be striking somebody's arm to knock it out of the way, so we get our next strike in. So now let's go over what the second hand does. So we started off here, and then we switched to this forehand, doing this overhand hammer fist. Now this other hand, which I would call a backhand, because it comes this direction at a 45-degree angle. Both of these are coming at a 45-degree angle and creating a circle here. Right now, this one's starting to retract. Now, what the other one's going to do is this. From an outward position, I'm going to scoop down with my hand. I'm going to do it first open hand. I'm going to scoop down with my hand. I'm going to bring it up. So my elbow is pointed down toward the front of my leg here. Hand is up and pointed toward me. And I'm going to do a little arc over the top. My elbow again is pointing away from my hand. My hand's going to come forward, and just before it strikes, it's going to twist and turn. So it adds a snap to my strike here. So you can see that snap as opposed to this kind of motion. I'm getting this. And I can even do it with a hammer fist too. So I'm scooping down and coming under. Scooping here, coming over the top and hitting. So my hand turns from inward, or upward in this case, to outward just before I hit or just as I hit. You don't want to do it back here and then slide. I just want to mention of this hand coming forward. So we got opening and closing, right? We know about the power of that. With the opening here, this is also a gauge of distance. As my hand comes out, this is a gauge of distance, and even though it's not as powerful as the other hand, it could easily be doing an eye gouge, eye jab, anything like that that could do some serious damage. But in the case of being, say, in a blind alley, you cannot see well, maybe you got hit in the eyes, maybe dirt was thrown in your eyes, anything like that, having a hand gauge out greatly increases the likelihood that you're going to hit your target with the other hand. If I have this out to feel for where things are, so even if my eyes are closed here, if I can feel that, I know that's where it is. So this becomes your gauge, and it also helps you control your distance. So now, putting the two together, it looks like this. So there's closing motions and opening motions in Kuntao systems, right? And in Silat systems. So from this position, I'll hammer fist here. As I do that, this hand's coming to here. As I retract, this hand's coming to here. So I come over the top, this one retracts. As this pulls back, the other comes forward. What this allows for is no open gaps for somebody to counter strike. Normally, if I was boxing, I would throw a shot out and then I retract, and now there's an open space. This doesn't allow for that open space because when I'm retracting one hand, I'm striking with the other. Retracting, striking, and it just keeps going. Whatever gets in the way of those two strikes simply gets moved out of the way or it gets hit. And so it becomes a real punishing type of striking pattern. So the other thing we want to think about with this is we want to think about the footwork. So the footwork always adds something to it because we get rotational torque and we get adding gravity to it, which is dropping our body weight that then allows us to magnify the actual power and intensity of the punch on the receiving end. So I'm going to show you from the front here. If I'm starting just with this hand, the drawing backhand here, as I come over the top, watch my foot as you go from foot forward here, as I retract, right? And as I bring my elbow forward and I go to strike, my foot turns in, and then I bend my leg to about 45-degree angle as I hit. So I'm coming here and here. So you can see it accentuates the arc with the dropping. And one thing you want to really pay attention to is which direction you're dropping. You don't want to drop your weight over the front leg or the back leg. It's straight through the center as if your spine's going down into the ground, and that's a pull that your body's just sliding on. So it doesn't put you at any kind of jeopardy of having your weight too distributed onto one leg or the other leg, making one of them vulnerable. So from this position, I drop. I pull back, I drop. Now the second hand, with that, the footwork's different. So it's a different kind of energy. This energy, my whole body's rotating and dropping into the strike. The other energy is pulling back as the other hand comes forward. So it's a retraction energy that's very similar to what they get in karate when they're striking like this. As one retracts, the body tends to torque and get power going the opposite direction. So I do my strike here as I drop. Now when this strike comes out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up on the ball of this foot, the front foot. I'm going to drop again. See, my heel drops with that, and my back heel comes up as a hammer fist. The opposite happens as I hit with this hand. So back heel drops, front heel comes up. So watch how they switch. This foot turns in, hits, here. That's one more thing that I would mention with this is that with all of these movements, you can break them down and walk the floor with them. What I mean is we're probably going to practice this as a zigzag step right now. So I'd hammer here, I'd come here, I'd hammer here. I'd zigzag again, I'd pull back, and I'd hammer here. The same can be done with the other hand, where I would step out at this angle and I'd hit here, and then I'd hit here. And then I'd hit here, and then I'd hit here. So that's my backhand angle. All right? The same thing can go for also, instead of stepping opposite hand and foot, stepping same side hand and foot. So I can still come here and look at my footwork. I'll step back a little. You look at my footwork, I'm still turning in here with this hit and then out. I'm still switching up which heel is dropping, just like I was before, but I'm coming in with the same side hand and foot. So remember, whenever this hand's coming in, this is a hammer fist. It could be hammering an arm that's in the way. It could be going straight to the chin, the temple, the cheek, anything like that. Anything that's in the way can get hit by that. Same with the second hand here, your backhand. So what I would like you to do is practice stepping, switch your angle here. Watch how I switch my hands. So if I'm coming here, I come here, right? I maybe do this a couple of times, and then I bring my hand under to here. So I establish my open position and my distance with this hand, hit a couple of times, then I come here, open again, hit, just like so. Go ahead, give it a try, enjoy. It's a fun movement once you get the feeling of it. It feels really, really good, really organic, and very natural.